Hola amigos, ¿qué pasa? Today we have another game that felt like it was lost to the ages, or at least lost to regional releases. Today we're going to talk about a game called The Legend of Nayuta Boundless Trails. Honestly, you guys know I'm a huge fan of the Trail series, and when I found out that this was part of that series, I was excited yet also kind of fatigued, if I'm being honest. We've had two big releases this year from the Trail series, that being Trails to Azura and Trails into Reverie, and they're amazing games, but they're like 70, 80 hours long, and they really take up a lot of not only your time, but your attention, meaning you really have to pay a lot of attention to these games, characters, storylines, how they all fit in. And while I was excited to play something that has never been released in the West and is part of this amazing series, there was part of me that was just afraid that I wasn't going to review this game as I should because, well, of fatigue. You spend so many hours in one series, too much of a good thing really does kind of become a bad thing. And I know there's those that say if one is good, then 12 must be better. Surely they have not tried Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, because 1 is amazing, 12 will make you wish for death. And that was really my fear going into The Legend of Nayuta. Thank God, that is not how this game played out. In fact, they decided to change it up. This series is known for being turn-based traditional RPG combat with long-form storytelling that is incredibly detailed and amazing, if I'm being honest. But every now and then it's nice not to go into something like that. It's nice to play something that's only 20, 25 hours and more of an action RPG. Sometimes it's fun just to hack and slash a little bit, and that's exactly what we got from this game. As it does tell a cool little story, it's nothing too over the top, nothing too detailed, and rather simplistic, honestly. You see, we follow a character by the name of Nayuta and his best friend Signa. They're on summer break from their academy and they're back home at a place called the Remnant Island. Now, the Remnant Island has one really interesting aspect about it, and that is there's constantly falling stars in their area, and many times it's like debris that's falling down. Now, as Naruto is an aspiring researcher, he finds this really interesting and loves tracking everything that falls and where it came from. And in his free time, he and his best friend have a job. They have a company they built together called Handymen, and they go around just kind of fixing problems that happen to the local villagers. You know, maybe a gate gets broken, a cat gets lost, that kind of thing, just to earn a little extra scratch. But see, both of them have a very weird background. Naoto, his parents ended up passing away early on in his life as they were trying to find something called the Lost Haven. And Signa, on the other hand, really just came to the island as an orphan about 5 years ago, and he's been training with a master swordsman who took him in as his own son. So the two have really played off each other very well. Rather it be starting their own business or studying at the academy, they've also developed this responsibility over the village they live in. One day while they're home on their summer break, a massive meteor falls, right next to Signa's home actually. It falls in the ocean, but he lives seaside, so you can see how that happens. Anyway though, when they actually inspect this meteor, they find out it's not really a meteor, it's a temple of some form. And so the two curiously look inside to find out if there's anything that they can salvage or maybe something that they can gain knowledge from. They are quickly met with an injured fairy by the name of Noi, and she is holding on to a gear or some sort of item. It looked like a machine to them. Unbeknownst to them, is a very coveted item in a different world. Well, they certainly find out rather quickly as two bad guys show up, Sir Zekt and a masked man with an amazing ability to sword fight. While trying to defend the fairy and basically do what's right, the two boys end up in a massive conflict, dealing with another world they didn't know existed. The fairy in fact shows them that they've found the Lost Haven, the world that Nayuto's parents have been looking for, or as she's called it, Terra. Now, quickly learn early on that this Zekt guy is actually planning to destroy this world, and in turn, he's going to end up destroying Nayuto's world as well. So the game really takes off from here, and this is where we actually get more control and we're able to explore a little bit more and get into actual combat, as well as fighting some very epic bosses. And as I alluded to before, this game is an action RPG. It's more hack and slash than it is tactics and turn-based. It's really fun though. I really appreciated this change of pace just because it was a nice palate cleanser, honestly. There have been so many of these long-form turn-based combat games that I love. I truly love. But if I'm honest, I've been swamped with those type of games this year, and so it was really nice to play something a little bit different, something a little bit more carefree, something that just felt like I had more impact as far as when I could attack and dodge, and just, I don't know, it was a little bit more relaxed, that's all I can say, as well as a story that is pretty simplistic, honestly. You know, big bad guy comes to this world, tries to destroy the world, you're supposed to stop the big bad guy. It was a great change of pace for me, as lately a lot of the games I've been playing, especially the RPGs, have been more deeply political and, you know, having so many moving pieces that were kind of, I'm not going to say difficult to keep track of, but it's something that you have to be aware of. And this really just focuses on the main characters that we've already talked about. There's a couple other, I should say, that we haven't mentioned, but for the most part, it's just a small group of characters and following their rather simplistic goals, which again, I think is a nice change of pace. It's something that at least I've needed, and it's a really good thing to throw in there between RPGs, just to have something that is kind of short and sweet. And yes, it's funny to say 20-25 hours is short and sweet, but for RPGs, there's some that are just starting to get into the storyline at 20 hours. But one thing I will say too, that this game has a very different feel to it. It's almost like a 2D Mario with hack and slash mechanics. Hear me out. So when you do finally gain more control of your character, you can visit different continents, and each continent has a level to them. A couple levels actually, usually around 4 to 6. And there's almost like this overworld map where you kind of think of like Super Mario 3, you know, where there's a bigger area, but then you stop by each level. Maybe I should have said Mario 3D World, but regardless, you get what I'm saying. And each level has a few requirements for you to beat, but essentially you just need to get to the end to clear it. And you are also gaining different stars and achievements along the way, which will later unlock different sword skills for you. But it really has like that kind of 2D feel in a very weird way. To say that this game was borrowing from a 2D Mario game and also a hack and slash RPG, I don't think is crazy to state. It definitely has elements of both, and it comes together very nicely. And I think ultimately it was a nice change of pace. Graphically, this is the remastered version, so everything looks really good. It kind of pops off the screen, has bright, vibrant colors. The characters, like I say, are well detailed, and I like the fact that when you change equipment, the characters model themselves change a little bit. You know, they're added with like a brass chest piece, or their weapon is different. I really like those kind of changes in the game, and it's definitely here. It's very lush, vibrant world. It has arguably PS3, Xbox One graphics, but they're very well defined, and the characters really pop off the screen. Honestly, I really tried to find stuff to dislike about this game, and there really wasn't a lot there. I think there's some traditionalists that would argue that it's not as in-depth as something like Octopath Traveler 2 or even some of the other Trails games, but I think that when you realize you're going into an action RPG, you'll find that it lives up to its brand. You know, if you're looking for something different, well, then that's not really on the game. The game itself is, as advertised, an action RPG, and everything about it is really good. Like I said, I've tried to find problems with it. I've tried to go through and see performances were an issue, storytelling maybe not as complex as what some would like. Again, for me, it was a nice palate cleanser between going into some really serious games and coming from some very serious games. It's nice just to kind of have a break a little bit and have a serious story, but it being told in a laxed manner. Ultimately, I have to give this game a 7.5 out of 10. I just thoroughly enjoyed it, and like I said, once I couldn't find many things wrong with it, it is hard to give it anything less. But that leads to the final question. What are your thoughts on this game? What are your thoughts on the series? Are you excited to play more from the series and this universe? Or are you a little upset that your bank account is going to be dropping even more? As, yes, it's great we have access to all this, but damn, all these games are kind of pricey. And like that adds up over time, especially in a time when we're getting a lot of other games. But again, it's hard to say that this isn't worth your money, because it definitely is. It's a lot of fun, and it's something that is brand new to us over here in the West. But again, curious what your thoughts are. Anything and everything down in the comment section is incredibly appreciated. I love each and every one of you. You guys are amazing. Bye-bye.